Welcome to this episode Eureka, and we are going to have a very interesting conversation with Professor Vinod Tare, who is the head of C Ganga, a center at IIT Kanpur. He is a professor of engineering at the same institute. Before we continue this conversation, let's take a quick look at his brief profile. Keep watching Eureka.
Namami Gange is a flagship program of NDA government, which integrates the efforts to clean and protect the Ganga river in a comprehensive manner. The Government of India also commissioned a consortium of IITs to clean up the Ganga, where Dr. Vinod Tare played the lead role. Currently, Dr. Vinod Tare is a professor of environmental engineering and management at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, and also held Sir M. Vishweshwarai Chair Professor established by the Ministry of Water Resources. He was the leader of the consortia of 7 IITs for the preparation of Ganga River Basin Management Plan, and also the founding head of the Centre for Ganga River Basin Management and Studies at IIT Kanpur, established by the Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. Under his leadership, Ganga River Basin Management Plan has been submitted to the government, in which various action plans to restore River Ganga is discussed in detail. Dr. Tare is a civil engineer, obtained his master's and doctoral degrees in environmental engineering from IIT Kanpur, and subsequently did postdoctoral research at the Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago. Dr. Tare began his professional career with a short tenure at the Engineers India Limited, and subsequently chose to serve the academic world and engage in research and development activities. He was the chairman of the first and the second India Water Impact Summit held in 2013 and 2017 respectively, and International Conference of Water Harvesting, Storage and Conservation.
Thank you for being with us. It's a very interesting topic that we are going to discuss. Perhaps one can even say that lifeline of India, Ganga.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to say in a very short sense, what is Ganga? What would you say so?
Ganga, in terms of its entire length, is I think one of the largest rivers. It travels over a distance of 2,500 kilometers, and its basin is more than 1 million square kilometers, and so far as India is concerned, it covers 11 states of India. And on the main stem of the river, we have 5 states, starting from Uttarakhand, then Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, some portion Jharkhand, and finally West Bengal.
Yeah. So, this Ganga, which is starting from Himalayas and finally ending in Bay of Bengal, it's winding through about 2,500 kilometers all over the country,
Yes.
Giving life, perhaps lots of opportunities for people to survive and also enjoy the nature. That's a river. Is it same all through? Is it the same kind of river, or its character changes?
No, its character changes. Like for example, in the upper stretches, which we call it as upper segment of the Ganga, mostly in the mountainous stretch, right? It's very young, volatile, a lot of energy. Okay. Then after Haridwar, it comes into the plains, right? Then the character completely changes, right? It's very wide. Okay, and then it enters into the lower segment, which we call it as Varanasi, right up to Ganga Sagar. There many streams coming from Nepal side, that is the northern side, and then there are some streams which are coming from southern side like Son, they meet, and as the river goes, the flow increases, it becomes more and more wider, and when it meets the sea, the character is completely different.
It produces a huge delta, right? I mean,
Yes,
when it meets
yes, and
sea.
then we have an important biodiversity, Sundarbans. Okay, it's very important component of the whole Ganga system.
Yeah. So, now let us take some of these major chunks. Let us take the upper Ganga.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think are its main features, main challenges in that region?
The main features are it has a very sensitive, fragile ecosystem, and very valuable. I do not think we can even or we even know about how many $1 million or $1 billion worth it is, right? Very special kind of species that we have, which we have probably many of them we do not even know, but they are very, very important. And it is believed that that kind of setting gives very special quality to the Ganga water, and that is why from ages we store that water, and we also have experience that that water does not get deteriorated, and that is why it is very important, and it is the urge of every Hindu that when he wants to take last breath, at least a drop of Ganga water should be given to him. So that is the kind of importance that we have religiously. But at the same time, it is also a livelihood. It's also contributes significantly to our economic development. Okay, if you look at it, 26% of the Indian geographical area is Ganga basin. Okay, and about 40%, 43% of the Indian population lives in her basin. Okay, that's the and it gives livelihood to the people who really need it, right? And that is why, for example, on the banks we have important conglomerations, like for example, Kumbh Mela in Haridwar every 12 years that happens. Then in Allahabad we have Kumbh Mela every 12 years, okay? And in Allahabad every year we have this Magh Mela. You may call it as just a Mela, but that is a source of income for the poor people, okay? And it also serves as, if I can call it as psychological doctor to us, right? Because many times we commit some mistakes, we commit some sins, and then we go and take a deep into it, and then after that we feel ki, yes, I am relieved of that, right? This is, I said, ki all your sins are this thing. So it is related to faith, right? And it serves as a psychological doctor for us, okay? So that is the importance that we have. And then of course, all kinds of biodiversity is there, all kinds of trades are involved for poor people to this. Ganga helps everybody.
Very interesting. I think we will pursue this discussion some more, but before that we will take a very short break. Keep watching Eureka. After the break, we are going to discuss about what are the specific unique flora and fauna which are associated with Ganga and Ganga basin. Keep watching Eureka. We are going to continue this conversation.
Today we will analyze why is it so important to have a policy to authenticate e-pharmacy.
To ensure that the quality of medicines that are manufactured and sold in India are as per the standards given under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act.
So without having tight rules in place and tight, sort of the way in which to do business, if you will, what happens is we are basically putting in danger all of our lives.
Do you think that these e-pharmacies can provide the benefit to the consumers?
Because the whole middleman, the whole bunch of costs actually come down because we are able to sort of go directly to the consumer.
There is a provision to take a legal as well as the administrative action against the e-pharmacy holder.
Welcome back to Eureka. We are having a very wonderful, very informative conversation with Dr. Vinod Taric. He is the professor at IIT Kanpur and he is also the head of C Ganga. Before the break, we were discussing about the nature of Ganga and how a huge population thrives on it in India. Let's look at its uniqueness. What kind of unique flora and fauna exist in Ganga? I mean, in terms of biodiversity, how important it is?
I think Ganga has a very, very unique kind of diversity, and the number of species of flora and fauna that we have, I do not think we have any other basin supports that kind of thing. Like for example, in terms of uniqueness, if you look at the upper stretches, we have fish like snow trout, we have fish like mahashir, then Ganga dolphin is very unique, and that is the reason why the government has declared this as a national aquatic animal, dolphin. Okay. And then we go to the downstream, we have hilsa. Okay. So these are the important fish species, but other than that there are several fauna, okay, which in the Himalayan. For example, many medicinal plants are part of it, right. and then Ganga supports huge gives huge support for our agricultural produce. Okay, so many people's livelihood is dependent on this kind of thing.
So
when you
let's
go to
talk about
downstream,
one species, aquatic species, which has been declared as a national aquatic species,
Yes.
which is the dolphin. Of
dolphin,
Ganga.
yes.
What is so unique about this dolphin? Because usually dolphins are not found on rivers, right?
Yes, 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 yes. I mean, Ganga dolphin is a very, very unique kind of thing, and this is actually at the of course, it's not used as such for any other purpose, but indication of presence of dolphin actually indicates the entire aquatic life that it has is intact. Okay, it's an indicator
It's a
because it
security.
survives on fishes which are freshwater fishes, right? Okay, and so that is an indication of this, and then it requires certain kind of habitat to serve. So the moment you have presence of a dolphin, and then of course you can enjoy, because a dolphin comes out it's an animal which probably never sleeps. Okay.
No, actually, dolphin is a mammal, so it has to
Yes.
breathe, so it has to come
Exactly,
out and breathe.
exactly.
And one uniqueness, what I came to know, is that this dolphin has no eye.
Yes,
It uses
yes.
echolocation to
Yes,
find.
yes, yes.
And lots of scientists are also studying the dolphin to
Yes,
understand
yes.
how exactly echolocation works, because you can use it in other areas. It's a very, very interesting species,
yes,
and we should be very proud. I mean, I think
Yes.
it's one of the rarest species
Yes,
of
yeah,
dolphin,
yeah.
which lives in fresh water.
And so one of the major challenge that we have is how do we ensure that the habitat for dolphin is preserved, and then we can have this unique animal, and we can be proud of having that.
Yeah. So, see, for quite some time, we as a civilization and we as a nation has been ingrained with Ganga. I mean, in many ways we are interrelated with it. Maybe for trade, maybe for other purposes, culture, in many ways we are integrated with Ganga. But in the recent past, I'm sure that you will also agree with me that we are not giving the care that we should give to Ganga.
Yes.
We are abusing it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there have been many kinds of, if one can say, violence perpetrated against Ganga, that the river is in real dire state. What are the major challenges Ganga is facing?
See, one of the challenges that we face is we are throwing all kinds of waste into the river from various activities. Okay, the domestic activities is one, and somehow we have learned to use toilets, and we also make these toilets adjacent to our bedroom, and obviously we have to move that waste material, and we misuse water. So, we flush water into it and then use water for transporting that, and
So
ultimately
one is, human excreta is one challenge.
yes,
Next
yes.
challenge?
Then another challenge is the way human beings defecate, so also our industries defecate, right? Because when we use water in the industries also. So
industrial
industries
pollution is
also
one
is
major
another thing.
Another-
And the third thing is the solid waste that we generate. Okay, actually Ganga is not just the main channel of the river that we talk about. Ganga means all water bodies associated with it.
Okay.
Right. So, all towns we have small water bodies, ponds, lakes, wetlands, isn't it? They are all part of the river. Okay. And invariably what happens is, because of the modernization, urbanization, we have somehow changed the catchment area of those water bodies, and those water bodies these days do not receive enough water, and they tend to become dry. And then it's obvious for us, wherever we find a low lying area, that is the place we find that we can dump our waste. So, slowly and slowly all those water bodies we have dirtied it, and then they start stinking, smelling, and then somebody covers it, and then this thing. And then we also have done the same thing to all the drains that we have. So, our drains are choked or whatever, and then all that water that flows through these drains ultimately goes to Ganga, and this is how we are actually dirtying it. So, when we talk about cleaning Ganga, basically it is not cleaning Ganga, it is cleaning our acts, right. So, if you do not dirty it, Ganga will remain, and even otherwise Ganga cleans herself every year. Every year when you have monsoon and so much of flow, it flushes out everything, but we still do not learn. We continue to do that year after year, year after year. So, the day we stop doing that, Ganga will automatically become clean. So, we
What
have
about
to
the chain of dams and barrages that we have built along the Ganges? How is it causing issues to the Ganges?
See, one is we would like to have the flow in the river which is unpolluted. We call it Nirmal flow, right. But when you say river, river means it should flow, right. Now, by creating dams, what we do is we stop her flow, right. And then it is no more a continuous flowing river. So, what we say is we are disturbing the longitudinal connectivity of the river. So, one of the important things that when we make dams, barrages is this, and like we are one of the species part of the biodiversity, there are several species. We can say we are the species which live outside the river, but there are also many species which live inside, okay. And for them, for their own survival, livelihood, food, they have to move upstream, downstream. So, moment we create that kind of obstruction, we are stopping their migration, okay. And in their life cycle, they stay at some places, they breed at some places, and when they breed, they go to the upstream species. Now, if you are blocking that, then we are kind of destroying their breeding places, and obviously over a period of time then we will lose them. That is the main impact of that, and that is why that is the big challenge. So, on one side we want to have hydropower for our own economic development, we need electricity, that is an important thing, but I think what we need to have is some kind of discipline. Yes, we can use river. A river allows us to do that, but not to the extent that we destroy the river completely. So, I think we have to talk about new ways of designing our hydropower. We have to make sure that the river connectivity, longitudinal connectivity, lateral connectivity, because river once in a while also wants to go and talk to the other water bodies, the ponds, the lakes, okay, and then it spreads that, and that is also one way to spread her sediments. And when it spreads those sediments, that is how the entire Ganga belt is very fertile. But if you do not allow that to happen, then those sediments are restricted, and then it gets deposited, and this is one of the major problem that we have in the lower part of. If you look at Bihar, this is the biggest problem in Bihar and Bengal, because lot of silt and this thing comes, and then if that gets deposited, and then in order to control floods, we create either embankment. So, the river sediment gets deposited, and many places, many of our rivers have become elevated rivers, and the rest of the area is low lying, and then the flood problems become more. So, it is important that the rivers, one of the function is to distribute that sand and silt entire area, so that this so flood actually to some extent, if you look at Bihar earlier, people used to flood, even now they welcome flood, because that is what gives the fertility to the land, right. It is only when it goes above certain level, then it is a disaster, but by and large floods are, but somehow we have changed that, okay, and then we are facing the issues related to that.
Okay, that's an interesting point. With this, we'll take a very short break. Keep watching Eureka. We'll come back after this break.
विदेश जाने वाले भारतीय श्रमिकों के लिए जरूरी सलाह।
परदेश में नौकरी पाने के लिए केवल विदेश मंत्रालय के साथ पंजीकृत भर्ती एजेंटों के माध्यम से ही जाएं।
फर्जी एजेंटों के जरिए न जाएं, वरना आप फंस सकते हैं।
जाते समय किसी भी व्यक्ति द्वारा दिया गया कोई भी पैकेट लेकर न जाएं, आप फंस सकते हैं।
जिस काम के लिए जा रहे हैं उसका थोड़ा प्रशिक्षण अवश्य लेकर जाएं।
परदेश में नौकरी पाओ तो सुरक्षित जाओ, प्रशिक्षित जाओ।
विदेश पहुंचते ही भारतीय दूतावास से संपर्क करें। परदेश में आपका दोस्त भारतीय दूतावास।
विदेश मंत्रालय द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
Welcome back to Eureka. We are having a very informative conversation with Dr. Vinod Tare, who is with the Department of Environmental Engineering in IIT Kanpur, and he is also heading Sea Ganga. Today we are having this focus, Namami Ganga. That is, we want to restore Ganga, its glory and pristine which it had before we started abusing it. What are the major challenges in achieving it?
Namami Ganga is a very, you can say, a flagship program of the present government, and restoration of Ganga or conservation of Ganga means restoring its aquatic life, its biodiversity. And the first thing that we need to do is to ensure that the habitat of these organisms is ensured. And the two major things that we need to do is to make sure that the river is unpolluted, and the second is we do not stop the river's flow, right. Okay, yeah. So, maintaining the flow in the river and its connectivity, all kinds of connectivity, lateral connectivity, longitudinal connectivity.
And so, now let us look at this challenge of ensuring that we do not pollute. If one looks at it, largely three kinds of pollution happens to Ganga. Yes. One is runoff from agricultural field, where unutilized let us say fertilizers and pesticides go into the river. The second is, of course, the human habitation, human excreta goes into the river, and third is pollution from industry. So, how do we tackle all these three?
Well, if I have to give some kind of percentages to this, about 75 to 80% of the pollution is through domestic.
Okay.
About 25% is through industrial. Agriculture, yes, it contributes, but I would say is not that much. Is not that much.
So, which essentially means that the foremost thing that we need to, tackle is to control the domestic sewage.
Yes, domestic.
How do we do that?
Traditionally, when we are using toilets, obviously we need to build up sewer systems, and then we have to build up sewage treatment plant, and that is the real challenge, because with the conventional way, the way we do it, sewage treatment and sewer system, the capital expenditure and the on the sewerage system and the sewage treatment plant is huge, really huge, and the operation and maintenance of this. So, either we have to spend energy or we have to give land for it, right, and both are interchangeable resources, right. So, either I give energy or I give land, and that is really this thing, and both are challenging for us. Okay. So, energy and land and human resources, okay. These three inputs are required, and that is what costs this sewage treatment. And if I can look at it as on today, it costs about 1 paisa per liter if the sewage is to it appears very small, 1 paisa, but if you look at the population and the total amount of sewage that gets generated, it is a huge, is thousands of crore per day of expenditure.
Okay.
And that is the real challenge, from where we are going to get these resources. Okay. And ideally, it should, the communities should take the responsibility of doing that, but somehow we have created a system where we look at the government, right. I think if every municipality, if every gram panchayat realizes that we are responsible for this and we should handle it, government can give guidance, government can give support, but government cannot fully support, isn't it, and should not support, because it is our responsibility. Like I take care of making sure that I fill up my stomach every day, I do not look at government for that. So, also I would say to empty your stomach is also should be responsibility.
So, now what is the kind of percentage of actual domestic sewage is being treated as of now?
Well, if I say it, it is not a very encouraging this thing. I would say about 10 to 15% of the sewage that gets generated is actually treated as per the norms.
So, which means that we have a very long way to go there, but we need to go there fast. That's a very important aspect.
Yes.
In that, project like Namami Ganga will give us perhaps the enthusiasm and the push to go there. Now, let us take the second problem, which is the industrial pollution. How are we tackling it?
I think so far as the industrial pollution is concerned, there are norms for it, and the government is trying to make sure that those norms are implemented. the industries follow that. So, that is the way, because we follow what we call it as polluter pays principle, right. So, if industries are polluting it, the industry should take care. Eventually, the people who use that product, they pay for it, because industry will charge you. If you are using paper, paper price will go up and industry will charge you. So, all whether it is tanneries, for example, if I am using leather shoes, I should be paying for it, okay, and the industry should take care of it. Invariably, this argument is given that it is very expensive, but I think long term this is not very expensive. We should learn to pay for it, and most important thing is we should internalize the pollution that we create in our developmental process. The day you will learn that the price of whatever I do, pollution should also be part of it. It will, and slowly we are learning that. We are developing processes wherein this polluter pays principle gets implemented in its spirit.
That's interesting. When you were a student in IIT Kanpur and then you were doing your civil engineering, that's when you got interested in environmental engineering.
Yes, yes.
How come you
well,
got it?
I must owe this to my teacher, Professor Sehoriwala. He was so motivating, and he taught us the environmental engineering in such a simple way, and I really got interested. And then IIT Kanpur was #1 in environmental engineering at that time, and that is how I ended up joining IIT Kanpur.
That's, and you are also now heading a very important center, which I think has a very important role to play for future of India, because without securing this Ganga, I am sure a large population of India is going to suffer in future. Now, coming to this question, as an environmental engineer and somebody who has worked on treating sewage water for quite long time, looking at alternatives, what kind of technology can actually bring a game changing in this whole scenario today?
Well, one is we are at different stages in different places. Our urban problems are different. So, urban situation has to be handled in a different way, and rural situation has to be handled in a different way. Okay. So, fortunately we are still 70-75% is urban rural area, and 25% is 30% is urban. So, I always say that one solution does not fit everywhere, right. So, if you are in an advanced stage of disease, then you need AIIMS, Apollos. Okay. So, where we have created modern towns, congested towns, we have no other option but to go for sewage treatment plants, the modern, because there is a land issue or whatever. It's expensive, no doubt about it, but that's but in the rural area, we should not be repeating what we have done in urbans. And the solution starts from what kind of toilets we use, how we use toilets, how we create the next generation, okay, which engages with it. And one of the things that I would say Prime Minister has done, he has sensitized people to that you can't ignore this issue, you have to engage with him. Okay. And I also see, for example, my rough estimation is on an average you may have to pay 20 rupees per person per day, but that is also an opportunity for us. If I look at 20 rupees for making sure that everything is clean, so we are talking about 125 crore people into 20 rupees, you can imagine. And if 50% of that is spent on human resources, you can imagine how many jobs we create from that. Okay. Only thing is we have to prepare ourselves, right. We should not say that it is something dirty. What is the problem? The problem is you don't want to see it, you don't want to smell it, and you don't want to touch it, right. So, if we can develop for our rural area the things in such a way that we don't misuse water for flowing our waste, but handle it in a different way, I think it can be linked to the job, it can be linked to the employment, and also it can be linked to the agriculture, because much of our food comes from the soil, right. And if we can throw this back into the soil and short circuit the cycle. So, the nutrients come from the soil, we send it. So, agriculture, sanitation and employment, if you take it together, I think we can completely change the scenario, and we can show to the world that we are different, and how we can change and manage our 70% of the population.
That's I think a very positive note on which we will end this conversation today. People are at it. from IIT Kanpur to many other institutions, from experts to ordinary people are at it. We need to keep it up so that our rivers survive for our next generation. Keep watching Eureka. We'll come back with another interesting conversation next week.